Hello. In today's video, I'm going to talk about a recipe I put up in the Jackrabbit settings area this morning in the Jackrabbit support server using support and resistance, and how I used the SWMA to find the plateau of price action. Now, I'm not going to start with that recipe, but rather in order to demonstrate its uniqueness and some of the things of how to actually achieve the combinations. I'm going to build it here on the chart. The recipe that I presented this morning dealt with ADA and was tuned specifically for ADA. This time I'm going to use Bitcoin and tune it specifically for that. So let's start with support and resistance. Okay, and here we go. Now, as always, show the chart and turn off the signal line. Now, right now I have it set for live data, but you can select historic data if you wish. I'm going to use one of my favorite settings as I find it works well. This just seems to function quite well. So now we have support and resistance on the 1 minute chart. Let's move up to a higher chart where we get a little more price action, and we can begin to see some interesting and unusual features. Okay, let's use this chart. This is a lot of signals. Too many, really, for what we want. So we want to find the plateau of this. So now let's add the moving averages. And I'm not going to link it right away because we need to see how this is actually going to look on the chart before we link them, because we're going to have to count candles and play number games. Now, I'm going to go with a Rule 37 line, and I want to use the sine-weighted moving average. The reason is I want this to act like a single wave. And now I'm going to start out with a 89 because I want a longer duration. Okay, so here we are. Buy and sell. 89. Here's the swing part between the downturn and the upturn. That is, this is the mesa of the buying position. The algorithm sees this as where this point here, the market changes direction. So instead of coming off of a downtrend, it believes it will now start an uptrend. Here, the market believes it's bowed out and it will go to a downtrend. So this would be considered another plateau. The plateaus are when this line flattens out and changes direction. So let's see if we can catch closer to here. The high point of this plateau is where we want the sell signal to take place. So this is just going to be literally trial and error and playing with numbers. Now you can use the arrows on your keyboard, or you can simply type in numbers. I'm going to use the arrows and watch and see how the signals change. Depending upon your setup, you might need to press the enter once in a while to get TradingView to update. As you can see, you'll get the pointers to move as you drop and decrease the numbers. I personally prefer prime numbers as a way of picking it because they're unusual and they give me better opportunities that are not market standards. But you can use any number that matches as much as you want to try to get the best entry and exit points possible. And it is literally just going through this combination to try to get the right settings. That's not a prime number, but it's moving it closer to where I want. Now we're at a prime number. We are pretty close to the top of the peak with this. Let's keep going and seeing how much closer we can get. And this is literally what you have to do to try to tune some of these unusual settings. Okay, I am actually pretty happy with this. Sell marker is pretty good here. The buy marker is pretty good right here. So this does a fairly good job. But now we have a serious disconnect between this signal and this signal. So let's zoom this in. With the recipe in a support server, I had to use a very high number. I ended up using 80 candlesticks between this part and this part in order to get ADA to line up. However, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like 23 candles will work well, which is actually a good, interesting number. So right here, we want the candle count to hold for 23 for the signal. And I'm just shy a couple. So 25. Okay. All right, 24. So 24 candles. I was one off. So now that we have this lined up, we're going to link them together. Now you may need to adjust it some more as time progresses and you look at the chart at a much bigger and wider margin. But the process that we want is to see this. So as you can see, we did pretty good catching the plateau of each of these areas. So out of all of these signals, only these 3 match the plateau. Now let's go find out how we did on the buy signals. And as you see, we have other plateaus here. Okay, we didn't quite make this buy signal. So let's see. Alright, so let's uncouple again. And you can just cheat and just say no here, since you're going to be recoupling it eventually. So, okay. How many are we off here? It looks like we're only off 1 or 2. So we come back up here, come back to the holding point, and do we actually make it? Well, does this line up? It does. So now let's come back here. Let's relink it. And so now we have successfully taken a very difficult combination and gotten them to work together. By using the holding signal part of support and resistance and tuning the moving averages rule 37 part to create a plateau, so that between the two of them, as you look at your profits, we have an entry point here at this value, 103.98, and you have an exit point here at roughly this value, which is a pretty good profit margin just right here. And you don't have all of this accumulation. So this does fairly well in fine-tuning and honing into your position. But we're not done yet. We still need to do the trailing module. And it has some of its own interesting quirks that we want to explore. So let's link this here. Now, here's the default settings. Now, let's go back to the end. Okay, so here we go. We have 3 signals. I'm going to enlarge this for now. 3 signals. Here are the metrics. I don't want 3 signals. I'd like to actually try to get this down to 1 signal. So let's start with the sell value. Sell retracement. Let's start with 1%. Alright, 1% did not reduce these signals. So let's go to 1.5%. Still not reducing the signals. 1.8%. We're getting movement, but we're not reducing the signals. 2%. 3% sell retracement. We got rid of this signal. And then for the 3% retracement, so we got a good job going here. Let's go up to 4% retracement. And we got rid of all of the signals but one. Now, this, of course, is the 15-minute chart. So, as we zoom back out, and we look, here is the first signal. Actually, let's track it back. Where is the first sell signal? There's the buy signal. Here's the first sell signal right here. This is where this starts. And because of the retracement, look how much it actually climbs before it finally makes the sell marker. That is quite a significant climb. And that is what we want. So as you can see, using this kind of approach, we can maximize our trailing on a very specific situation. Now, this will not work for a smaller time frame. You will have to tune this appropriate to the smaller time frame or any other time frame different specifically than this one. So now that we have the sell signal tuned and we have such a good profit boundary, let's go find the buy signal. Now, as you can see, we're already at the bottom of this bow. So we may not want to necessarily tune this one as aggressively as we did the sell retracement. Let's see if we can find another buy signal. Okay, we can, and this one looks like it is done pretty good. But it looks like it does go slightly lower. So let's see what we can do with this buy signal. Okay, let's zoom it in real good and get a good picture of it. Okay, you can see that it doesn't go very far. That's not ideal. So let's start with a buy signal of 0.5. Okay, 0.5 actually moved quite a bit. Let's see where it moved to. So 0.5 actually moved way over here. And be sure you disable your signal line. So now, you see where the initial buy took place. It followed all the way down to right here. So that is very good, but maybe we can do better. Let's zoom out a little more. Okay, let's try a 1% buy retracement. And that really did good. We caught right at the low point right here. So we started up here, we actually trailed it all the way to in here. That's pretty good. That's respectable, and that's actually a very generous amount. Now let's look at the chart. The original buy position takes place here on the 4th at 3 p.m. The actual purchase takes place on the 5th at 8 a.m. So it held this position that long, waiting for the market to actually give the perfect entry. So you have here an incredibly robust system that does exceptionally well. So as you progress and you look at your entry and your exit point, when you fine-tune them, it is important that you focus on these type of nuances. And as you can see, we have a very good profit margin. on what would seemingly be a very difficult strategy. Now, let's add the analyzer. Let's see what the analyzer says. It's not going to be perfect, and it's certainly not going to be accurate. But it will be enough to give us an indication as to whether or not this process will be beneficial. Go through and set up everything correctly first before you look at any of the numbers. Everything must be set precise and consistent. Use real numbers, fill out the information as much as possible. While the analyzer is not perfect, it does give you a good and reasonable amount as long as you are consistent with your setup. So, here we have it. 3 trades, 100% profitability. $6 it says is our profit. This, in my opinion, is good enough to take it to the next stage. The charts look well enough. Now, I'm not using the DCA module either. Let's add it. Let's add the DCA module. Let's shrink this for now. I'm going to put the DCA module above the analyzer. So we want to move it above, and now we want to move it again into its own pane. There we go. Now let's hook the module into the trailing. Let's disable the signal line. And let's set it up appropriate to what we would normally use. Strategy, step, 2%, 2%. And I always prefer a maximum $600 budget. So there we go. Now let's retune the analyzer to the DCA module. And you notice it didn't give any buys whatsoever right here. Which means double check everything. And make sure you're on the signal line. Little things like this can cause problems. Always double check when you see weird stuff. Again, here we are. Take a look at this profit. This is roughly a 29% profit. It may have only made one trade, but what a trade. A $100 position on this would have brought in a $29 profit. So such a simple recipe, carefully tuned, and look at the impact. This is the kind of trading that you want to look for. This is how you take unusual market conditions and really capitalize on them. And that is the whole point of this system. Now, this is not going to be as tuned here as it was on the 15-minute. But as you can see, it is still bringing in one very nice profit. and we're going to go back to the February-March 2020 crash. Let's see how this handled that situation. As you can see, $20.20 gets out of the market and makes a very generous profit. Take a look at that profit. That is nice. That is what we want to see. That is incredibly nice. And now, the actual crash. There's February. Absolutely nothing. Nothing in February whatsoever. Here's March. Here's the big bite. Nothing. Because it didn't plateau early enough to pick up the signal. Now you can tune and tweak this more if you want to try to catch these. But from my standpoint, I am happy with this. I don't know if I would actually worry about anything else, because I don't want it way out here for a plateau. So the way this dropped is not something I personally would want to be in, but it does an exceptional job. If you wanted to, though, you would just increase your bar count. For the sake of argument, we already know 25 works well. Let's double it. And it waited for the whole market to completely bottom out, and it picked up an entry. So this is the plateau of this whole mess right here. What it believes is the low point. And then it tracks it, and it sells. Now, it reset the chart on me, so let's go back to the February-March debacle, crash, downturn, whatever proper term you want to use. Okay, there's April. That's a rather nice little tidbit. So in March, it picked up 2 positions. One right here, one right here. And it walked away with a very killer profit. That is a nice profit. So just by a little bit of tuning, and you could even tune the trailing more if you want to. But this is nice. So you have literally the ability to tune and get into the market at the plateaus. I thought it was done here. It wasn't. Here it picked up another plateau. So out of all of this mess, only 2 positions, $20. If that was your base position, and look at the profit. My baseline is only 2%. Look how much I made on this. On the base of this profit, 2%, and yet I walked away with 29%. So as you actually work through these settings, play with the numbers, experiment, tune it, look at it carefully. Don't just focus on the common denominators. Go out of the way a little. Try things that don't normally make sense. If you're working with a coin that has an unusual history, think about unusual numbers. With the ADA coin, one of these retracements is 2.43%. But as you can see here, a 4% sell retracement. And yet, I got a 29% profit. That is exceptional. Again, tune it appropriate to your time frame. I actually tuned this appropriate to the 15-minute time frame, but it does exceptionally well in the 1 hour time frame. Don't underestimate taking the time to combine and look at unusual circumstances. Now we are going to take this recipe and we are going to actually set it up with 3 commas. Where 3C exchange is out of business, I thought it prudent to actually go through the process of setting up with 3 commas and showing how that's done. So I've already logged into my 3 commas account, and you're getting a bunch of weird stuff. Nothing new there. Which none of it is what I want, but unfortunately it drives you crazy with a lot of this stuff. So let's get rid of all this nonsense. Now I have my paper trader account. Be sure to click on it. Okay, now that we're here, we're going to create a very simple long bot in the regular exchange wallet. Specifically the paper wallet in this case. This is an accumulation recipe. It accumulates. That is not good for the futures or some of the other aspects. So you have to deal with the fact that this is accumulation. Now you can tune it a little more and take out this aspect, but for me, I like accumulation. So I'm going to treat this as an accumulation only, even though this situation clearly is not, and it would do well with a $100 position or even a $1,000 position. For a $1,000 position, that's $290 profit. That is just gold. So let's actually set this up. Now this is a paper account, so I'm not going to worry about any of the nuances. Okay, so create a bot. All right, USDT, the amount, nice and simple. I don't want Gordon, I want advanced, I want to build my own. So this is going to be SR/SWMA /DCA. So here we go. It needs to be a composite bot. If it will give it to you, it looks like it's not going to, which is nothing new. But this does need to be composite. So when you create your bot on 3C, you need to have composite. Okay, so let's go with the I want USDT all, just so I don't have to deal with changing my bot constantly. And it's not going to allow it as always. Alright, let's switch to the real account. Let's redo this and see if we can get this working right, since the paper bot doesn't want to be cooperative. It's r/, how nice of it to remember. There we go. This is what we want. It needs to be this. Get rid of this. And where is our handy dandy USDT all? USDC all? XRP all? Okay. Here we are, right on the nose. There we go. Now, I'm not going to be trading all of these coins, but I don't want to come back here once I have my bot set up and running. I want to be able to rubber stamp copy this to any number of bots I want, nice and easy, and let everything be controlled from TradingView. So, I'm not going to be trading all of these coins, but I do want 100 deals. Of course, it's going to complain about your budget, so you do need to be aware of that until you make sure you have the deposits. I want the value in the USDT part, so the right hand side of the pair. I want a long bot, $10 for my position size, $10 for the safety, and most importantly, I want market orders. Now we are going to pick a TradingView custom signals, because TradingView is going to drive everything. I don't want a take profit, because I want everything signal driven. So I want this out of the picture. I don't want a stop loss, because this is an accumulation algorithm. And I don't want 3C's safety order system. I want everything controlled by TradingView. Okay. Everything else, except right here, we need simultaneous deals set to 100. Again, we don't want to come back here. We just want to be able to use this reference point to drive everything. You need to have this set for accumulation. And you need to have your max active deals set for accumulation. It is important to remember that 3 commas does not support averaging or single positions. So you're going to have to think about the accumulation practice as individual positions within your bot, which is fine. It works well. Not a big deal. And that works great for what we're about to do, because your trade cycle will be the average, that the DCA module will give you. So let's create the bot. We're not going to start it right now, but normally you would. Now we are going to get to the fun part, the alerts. So here's the bot, here's everything set up, and here's the part we need. Start deal and close all deals at market price. So let's go back to our chart. Here is our recipe. We are going to place our alerts on the dollar cost averaging module. So there are innumerable amounts of ways of placing an alert. I like to use either here or within the alert window itself. So here, alert, always set your condition first. And the condition is going to be the dollar cost averaging module. By asset, I want this once per bar. You can pick once per bar close if you feel more comfortable with it, but I want once per bar. Now your webhook is going to be I'm going from memory here, so I may have this wrong. It is in the Jackrabbit server, though, so be sure to check that first, and also check with the 3C site. So this, make sure your webhook is correct. Don't trust this one, because I'm going by memory, and, well, quite frankly, I think it's wrong. But it's enough to get the point across for what we're trying to do right now. The alert name, use it. This is important. Be particularly appropriate with your alert name. And now, we come here, come to your open or start deal. Click on it, copy it, come back, take out the old stuff or the marker, and paste it. There it is. But now, you see right here, this does not match the coin we want. So be sure, without messing up any part of the message, that your coin reference is correct. Take your time and make sure every little nuance is proper. Once you are ready, create the alert. You will get this. This is normal. Even if you use the historic data, lately TradingView has been strange about this. Simply click on it, and then of course you can come and find your brandly new created alert. Let's see if we can find it. And there it is. Now, let's add the sell point. So, again, create the alert. Set your condition first. Always the DCA marker. I want my selling to take place once per minute. Make sure this is set for sell. And I'm going to cheat and recycle my title. My browser remembers my forms, so I can plug that in. Now, come here, back to your bot, close all at market price. This is the message you want. This is important because the accumulation will have more than one position. We want all of those positions to close as rapidly as possible, as close together as possible. So here is your message, and you simply plug it in. Delete the tracer, plug in the message, and that's it. Create and continue anyway. Now we're going to modify this so that we see both the buy and the sell. And there's our two messages. Buy and sell exactly as we just did. So now when the signals go off, your bot will pick them up and begin trading. I do recommend that you go back and double check all of your settings carefully. Rewatch this video more than once. But as you can see, it's not a difficult process. Just beware and understand that 3 commas has a physical limit of 100 positions per bot. Therefore, when you do build your recipes, be sure to pay attention to the accumulation of your recipes. And as you can see, this does very well. You can either use the analyzer and see the amount of accumulations, or you can use, I don't want to create, the dollar cost averaging module itself. And you can see the accumulations, and that still is a breathtaking profit. So this is how you really capitalize on some of the most difficult market circumstances there is. Take the time to think out of the box. Sometimes some of the strangest combinations can produce some of the most interesting and rewarding results. Don't just take the market at face value. Even a bad market can produce good results with the right recipe. Each of these items are simply tools. There's nothing magical about them. They themselves are only limited by what you can actually conceive. If your thinking process is limited, they will be limited. If your thinking process is open to exploration, they will be unlimited. Take the time and carefully look at your options. Every market has a silver lining. As you saw in this example from the Black Thursday, February-March 2020 crash, it had a very profitable lead-in for this particular recipe. Any of the winter recipes I've presented previously all do well with unusual markets, each one tuned specifically to a given market condition. But that does not mean that you cannot find other, more interesting combinations like this one. Always look for the silver lining and always play and tune your numbers. Right here to right here is a powerhouse profit. And sometimes the simplest approaches are often the most rewarding. Until next time.